discussion video, I'm going to be talking about my experience taking the CBEST during a global pandemic and how that went, my thoughts, how I went about doing it, how I studied, and just how the overall experience was. Totally keeping in mind that it was different depending on the individual, the experience, and the place, and just everything with COVID. It could have been completely different in a different area, again, depending on the individual and the city, town, and so on and so forth. This is just my personal experience, how I went about just doing the whole thing, and maybe give you guys some like tips and tricks, and maybe some reassurance for your CBEST test, if you're going to be taking it for a teaching credential or to become a substitute teacher or whatever it may be. I went to take my CBEST test at around the end of May, and then I got my results the first or around the second week of June. And I did it to get my 30-day substitute teaching permit, so that way I could become a substitute teacher. There's different ways to go about becoming a substitute teacher. I'm not completely familiar with all of them. I'm still trying to figure out this process myself. So I'm just trying to relay the information I know about it, and not try to give you guys any false information. I know that, of course, you can go to school for that and obtain like a certain credential to become a substitute teacher, and there's just like different ways to go about it. There's several different ways. So that's what I was doing, and they allowed me to be able to go in and take all three tests, which is the reading, the writing, and the math, all at once. And that was up until June that they did that, because things were starting to open up again. So now they're separating the tests again. I don't know if they do that over there in your area, but for me, they allowed us for a certain amount of time to go and just take all three tests all at once. And they provided us with breaks. Depending on, if we needed to go to the bathroom or whatever, we just had to go and give them our ID and we could step out. There wasn't like a set break time. The whole process, I think, was pretty hectic, not because like it was hard to take the test. The test itself was definitely not what I expected to be. It wasn't like impossible, but I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to say too much, obviously. But it tested me a lot, and it showed me, I think we all are learning that students are not learning the same material that we did back when we were in school. I feel like so old saying that, but like what I mean by that is back when I was in school, we learned, like, for example, math a certain way and a certain way to solve it to get to a certain answer. And now they solve things differently. They get different answers. I don't know. It's completely different. Um and like I knew that, but like actually studying it and actually having to solve it and take a test for it myself was a whole different dynamic. And so it was definitely something new, and it felt like I had to relearn it. I definitely understood the overall concept, but it was it was something new. I did a lot of my studying from the actual CBEST registration website. They provide like sample tests that you can go and practice off of, and then there was YouTube videos, there was practice tests online. You can do a lot of them for free. Some of them you had to like register for. Um, I know they have like textbooks and stuff on it, and like books you can rent from the library. And it was just fairly self-explanatory. It was just the studying and the studying math. I think that was a lot for me. The reading and the writing, it reminded me a lot of studying for my SATs and for the KC and uh, the California statewide tests that they used to do. It was a lot of that, so it wasn't too much of a difference than things I had grown up with, and so I felt like, and it also in being an English major, I felt very well equipped for that. There were some new things, like certain, like the way they use certain terms and stuff that were a little bit different, that I needed to kind of like brush up on and figure out, but it wasn't it wasn't the math. And all this stuff wasn't like stuff that I figured out like once I sat down and took the test. This was stuff that like you could find out yourself by looking at the like study test and questions and sample questions and all that. It was pretty apparent that yeah, the math was going to be different than what I had learned in school. And um, they just kind of outlined what to expect and what types of questions to expect. It was a lot of probability and fractions, which I have never been good at. But it was really interesting trying to like figure it out. And I will say that I wish I had done a lot of my studying without using a calculator. I feel like so many people nowadays, like in schools, they provide you with calculators like starting like in middle school. Like when I was in middle school, and like even back then, like technology was not this huge thing that it is now, but they still at that point in like your education they were providing you with a calculator and you didn't have to do everything manually. And I wish I had studied without using a calculator for a lot of things, because going in I wasn't able to use a calculator and had to do a lot by hand, which is a lot because there were certain things that I did not know how to calculate by hand at all. So I had to really dig into my memory and try to figure out ways to do it, and then plug in answers and try to do it that way. So that's one tip that I think will be really important to keep in mind, that you should really try to do everything, or at least try to do everything by just working it out by hand. But if not through guesstimating or problem solving in some other way. So that was pretty challenging, and I think it wasn't something that they outlined in the registration information. So it was definitely something that was surprising, but something to keep in mind for explaining it to people who are going to take it. It's like you don't have a calculator. uh, but other than that, it went pretty fine. I think it just made the test a little bit longer. I was there a little bit longer with the math section, and it definitely made it harder for me, and I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, like the English and the reading and writing was pretty self-explanatory. It's so funny because when I got to the essay questions, I was I've been so used to writing like pages of like essays with um, incorporating evidence and all that stuff. And so when I was told I only had to write like a tiny little essay, it was so weird because I haven't done that in such a long time. I haven't done that since like high school. It's like, oh, I have to write a tiny little essay. Okay, how do I explain everything in 5 little paragraphs? And then like it was really different because again, like as an English major, I was so used to writing the long essays, and these were just like little 100-word things, and it's just like, all right. It was, you would think that it would give you some peace of mind, and there are like essay questions that you can study off of and like write like sample essays using that, and they highlight the directions and all that. But it just like it took some getting used to because I was so used to something else, and I thought that if I had known that or kept that in mind, I will obviously they did highlight the directions again, like I said, so I did know that. But like, if I had kept that in mind and really like thought about it, it's like I don't have to write this whole big essay thing. You would think it would reassure me a little bit, but again, I didn't even think about it. And then when I got to it, it kind of stressed me out a little bit because I was like, how do I do this? I'm not used to doing this. And this is just like, I guess, English major problems. I don't know. College problems. I don't know. So that was something. And I spent a good 5 minutes looking at my screen being like, what was I gonna write? I don't know, but I figured it out. And it shouldn't be like that. You should just not stress yourself out too much. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just relax, take a breather, go in. You're gonna do fine. And the thing that I think that was really nice, I didn't know at first. I found out like after I taken the test. Um, they said that I can, if I passed other sections, that I can just go ahead and take that test. So if, say, if I failed the math and I passed the reading and writing, I can just go in and take the math and register for that. And so that gave me some peace of mind that I didn't have to go and retake the whole entire thing again, because then, yeah, like it would have really stressed me out if I had only failed the math and I had to go and retake everything. So that was really reassuring. But like I said, what really helped me out through studying was the CBEST registration page and the YouTube videos. The YouTube videos really outlined like how to solve the problem, and I liked that different people did YouTube videos on like the same questions, so that way you can see different ways to solve it. I think that helped me out so much in the math section because there were so many different ways to go about it, and I was like, okay, which way works best for me for this type of problem. um, I was stressed out because there were a lot of word problems and a lot of fraction problems, but seeing how other people solve them and kind of comparing how I would have solved them, like I think it really eased me a little bit more. And so when I went in, I had certain ideas as to what to expect and how I could maybe go about solving that. Again, I didn't know about the calculator, but like it was good at least knowing that it didn't have to be solved this way to get this answer. And I think that's the fun part with math, and that's what I enjoy with math, especially algebra back in the day. That even though there are certain ways that we learn to solve them, there's also little ways that you can kind of go around it. And even though they learn differently now and they solve things differently now, you can still kind of like maneuver your way to figure out an answer. It just kind of takes a lot of work sometimes. So, what else? What else? I know that there's different testing sites depending on where you're at, so you can just register for the one closest to you. And then obviously, different testing sites have different rules and regulations and what you can do and what you can bring and all that stuff. And what else? What else? I know that the CBEST is like also required to obtain a teaching credential, and so I think like for me who possibly wants to obtain a teaching credential later on in life or maybe sometime soon, it's I at least have the test done now, so that way if anything, if I need to like retake it in the future, I don't know how this works. um, I already kind of know what to expect, or at least I in passing this, and if they take it, I have this done. So I think that was really helpful and really eased my mind as well. Like I don't have to go back and do something twice. And I did this for becoming a substitute teacher, but I could also use it for something else in the future. So I think that's also really nice to have that kind of under my belt and done. And yeah, I think just what to keep in mind throughout this whole experience, um, and my words of wisdom to you guys is that, just study and take the time to study. I think I procrastinated a lot, and it's not that it affected how I took the test and my scores. It just, I wish I had taken more time to study to feel better prepared. And I had asked more questions before, so I knew certain things going in. So yeah, call up your testing site and figure things out. That way you are prepared and you know that you're studying the right things in the right way. And it's always good to just ask questions, and that way it makes you have peace of mind that you are doing things the right way. And so for me at least, I had to like figure things out a lot on my own and research things and Google things, and I didn't even think at the time to call the actual place. But I figured it out, and I'm still figuring things out with that. But at the time, I think that would have been good, at least for me, to be able to just have that reassurance that I have all this stuff done and like check it off my checklist. And so, yeah, study, don't procrastinate, set some scheduling times. It's a lot of information to obtain at once. So, take breaks, breathe, take some self care. And yeah, it's not something that you can study within a couple of days. Set up certain days in the week over the course of a month. You have plenty of time until your registration date to study. So you can definitely work that out and figure something out. So for all of you guys going to take the CBEST, or if you've already taken it, the best of luck. And I hope that this video was informative. I only had so much information, but I felt like I should make the video about it just because it was an experience that I went through that I had no clue about before, and I felt like it would have been nice to have that information out there. So, yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.